Hello and welcome to our first info session for Boom 2025. My name is Cameron Watson, and I am the artistic director of the festival. I am joined by Alexis Robinson, our volunteer and partnership coordinator, and Kia Moore, our communications director, along with some potential artists for the festival. So I wanted to start with the what and why behind Boom. I think it's important for you to know if you're going to join us, who we are and why we do what we do. So I moved to Charlotte in 2009, and it was hard to break into the dance community. My background is a dancer choreographer, and I had trouble meeting other dancers and connecting and finding opportunities to perform. And and then once I did become part of the dance community, I had very minimal access to other arts communities in the area. And I think that was the case for many people. The city's changed a lot since then, but not enough. Anyway, so a group of us came together. The Democratic National Convention was in Charlotte in 2012, and the plan for the convention was to keep everyone uptown. And we were like, all these people from all over the country are going to be here, and they're only going to experience this very like corporate piece of Charlotte, and that's not really representative of who we are as a city and as a community. And so Manoj Kasavan, our executive director, along with a bunch of artists and other organizers, got together to have some art installations and performances uptown during the festival. And that's sort of how the initial group of artists came together. We did pop-up performances. There were big art installations. About 120 artists participated, which might at that point have been the biggest coming together of local artists in Charlotte ever. So after that was over, we were like, this is too cool. We need to maintain this opportunity for artists across genre to share space and collaborate. And that festival in itself, or that opportunity itself, led to collaborations among the artists involved. So it took us a while, but we started Boom, and it was our sort of opportunity to come together as a group and all share our work at the same time, so that we amplify all of each other's works and we get to see each other's work and be in each other's work in some cases. And several of us had already been attending fringe festivals or showcasing our work at fringe festivals, both locally and in this immediate region, but also internationally. So there were a group of about 8 artists, and we're like, okay, what can we do and how can we do it? And we didn't really know. We couldn't do it, and so we did it. So that was back in 2016. It was a much smaller festival than it is now. The festival has been more successful and grown far beyond we could have ever imagined. I do like to state that first, though, because we are all artists ourselves. So the administrators that make Boom happen, I'm a dancer choreographer. He is a writer and music lover, and Alexis is a visual artist. Manoj, our executive director, is an architect. So we know what we're doing because we've done it a couple times, but we don't actually know what we're doing. We're just making it up as we go along. And we're just scraping together all the funds we can and trying to share them and make opportunities for artists the best way we know how. So we're kind of a gritty group of artists creating space for other artists to share their work. Alexis is going to share with us about sort of the different parts of the festival, Fringe and Intersection.
Cool. So Fringe and Intersection. Fringe is are the more intimate, edgy, and experimental shows. We tend to like to say to the artists they're low budget but high impact. A lot of the time, though there isn't the highest budget like for a really high production, there's still the intimate, connective, and explorative aspect of the Fringe shows. There's still that aspect of connecting with the audience and sharing something that's very deep to you. We have a couple of Fringe shows, especially from last year, that dealt with things such as mental health, and other Fringe shows that were more experimental, and some kind of in between. But Fringe are more intimate, as in they're in smaller venues. Those are ticketed. The venues are throughout the campuses. With the tickets, we give 75% of the ticket sales to the fringe artists. And with the show logistics, so 2 short shows make about an hour, so we'll probably pair you together for that hour-long show, or you can do 1 hour-long show yourself. There are 3 shows across the weekend or the course of the weekend, so 3 days, 3
Each
shows.
artist performs their show 3 times. Yeah.
Yep,
To
thank
make
you.
sure that was there.
Yep. So, yeah, it's more for things like experimental, or just something that you want to get off your chest, but it ends up being that you maybe don't have the space to do like a big production at another location. This is for you. It usually tends to be something that is kind of weird, but we like that.
Weird in a good way.
Intersection, we're in a good way. So with intersection, doesn't mean that it's not weird, but it's more outdoors and kid friendly. There's 3 aspects of intersection. So we have the stage performances, the site specific performances, and vendors, which I'll let Kia talk about. With the stage performances, oh, there's also partners. There's plenty of sorry aspects of intersection. It's all free and outdoors. You have activities, you have visual art, you have music, dance, interactive workshops, you have panels, different locations, things like that. With the site specific, those are the idea for site specific is something that's curated for the campus that the festival occurs at. So that doesn't mean that you can't do a visual art installation there. That would be lovely. It would just have to stay during the course of the festival. Um, we have certain things curated for certain spaces within the space, if that makes any sense. So, for example, last year we were at Camp North End and we had a pergola with swings, and it was kind of like the meditative area. So we had Chief Walking Tall and Angel Han. Angel Han was playing guzheng, which is like a Chinese, traditional Chinese instrument that's very calming. And people got to sit there, relax, things like that. Whereas in other spaces, when people are eating in the food court at Camp North End, we had dance performances for that specific area. Am I missing anything?
Yeah, no, and then we also have a stage, which is more traditional stage performances, but it's fast and furious. So we ask, and this is true of Fringe too, we ask that you sort of uh choreograph your setup and breakdown so that it's quick. So one artist
Yep.
goes and another artist pretty quickly behind them.
Yep. And then the last thing for intersection is that we have a stipend for intersection since it's free. Last year, the stipend for groups
This is the
3
artist
and up, yep, the artist pay, sorry. The groups 3 and up were $150, and then the groups 2 and under, so 1 to 2, were $100. Um, I think it's important to note that the intersection artists do not go 3 times throughout the weekend. If they go multiple times at all, it would be 2, and that may be because they have different types of performances that they got approved for. But the stipend for this year is to be decided now that we have more money. Um, so yeah. Am I missing anything? I feel like I'm missing something.
I thought that was good.
Okay, cool. Vendors. You want to talk about vendors, Kia?
Sure. So for the past 2 years, we've had vendors. And that is if you want to sell your artwork, we encourage the vendors to be either handmade art or something that's like a craft. Because we want to give exposure to the creators. We have a package where it's all 3 days. Last year it was 200. I don't know if we're sticking it with that price, but it might change. And then if you want to do one of the days, it's usually around $75. But we strategically place it in a space where it creates like a marketplace. The vendor applications will roll out January 10th. And then we kind of vet the vendors because we can't just do anything. Like we had some folks last year that had some kind of overtly sexual things with their sale, what they wanted to sell, and we couldn't do that since it was a family environment. So we go through the interest, the people that are interested, and then we invite them to pay for their vendor spot. How many have we had? I think the first year we had around 50, and then the second year we had around 35, something like that. But we're determining how many we can handle in the space that we're gonna be this year. But if you're interested in doing that, it's usually you need to be vending the entire time. So if you're gonna be on the stage, you need to have somebody with you that can man the vendor table while you're doing your performance. And then you can come back and work together and handle that. But we invite you to be a vendor as well.
And Kian noted that we sort of, the whole festival sort of curated in that way. We invite submissions, we review the submissions, and then we select the right fit for this year's festival. And sometimes that's just about how many people we can fit into the weekend. Sometimes it's about the quality or of the work presented. And sometimes it's about, we've got 5 different artists that are submitting on a similar idea, and we don't want to have 5 of the same thing. So there are many reasons you might not get selected for this year, and it might not have anything to do with the quality of your work, but just the, the pool of artists that submit, we have to make hard choices about what we can fit into the weekend. So with that, I think I will jump into the application unless anyone has any questions so far. Awesome. So I'm going to screen share the applications. Give me a thumbs up if you can see it. Excellent. So here is, there's a little bit of a description of the festival and some information about each application here. You'll see that the Fringe application closes first on November 24th, and that the intersection application, you have a little more time, January 15th. Also, please note the notification dates. So we'll notify you by January 10th for Fringe, and for intersection, we don't notify anyone until, well, we will notify you by February 28th, because we have to go through the selection process. So, but anyway, so if you submit to intersection right now and don't hear from us for a while, it's because we won't start the review process until all the applications are in. So we won't start that process until January 15th. And the vendor application will go up January 10th and close in mid-February. We try to just space out these, the review sessions, because it's a lot of work on our end. So, so that will be up, in early January and then through mid-February, and go through sort of a similar process. And I would say that the application is not terribly different. Okay, so here is the Boom Fringe application. There's a lot of information in this description piece, and I really recommend that you read this all the way through before submitting. We get a lot of folks that apply for Fringe that really they would be better, a better fit for intersection. So just read carefully when you decide which one you want to apply for. You can definitely apply for both. There's also a question on the Fringe one that if you don't get accepted to Fringe, would you like to be considered for intersection? And so if you feel free to ask me which one you think you should be included in, but also if you submit to into Fringe, you can click that box. And if it's not the right fit for Fringe, you can be considered for intersection. So just some basic contact information. Website and social media handles. This is sort of, we can get a sense of who you are as an artist, and what your work, and the way you present yourself, what your work looks like outside of the work samples you submit. The premiere piece is just, we just want to know if it's been performed before or shared before in some way. That doesn't mean you will or won't get in. Original work, we are looking for original work, I think primarily, but there are times when covers or pre-produced work are valuable too. I would say make that case. Why is it fine for you to be doing a cover? Why is that exciting? And and worth sharing. Genre, we have a lot here, but again, there's an other. You can enter in another genre if you feel like your work doesn't fit into one of these. The title of your work, the work that you're presenting, this can be a working title. You can say, I don't have a title yet. That's fine. We just want to know where you are in the process. So you can be thinking thoughtfully about your ability to complete the work in time for the show. Describe yourself as an artist in 3 sentences or less. So we'd love to hear here about like the process that you utilize for art making, what kinds of things are really interesting to you as an artist and how you like to work. Pitch your show. So this is like, tell us why we, like if this show already existed, why should we come see it? Like you're marketing it to people who have no idea what it is. And then this can be something sort of not marketing, but like the background information that you might want the selection committee to know. Like this show is fringy because like it's a play. So maybe you pitch it as a play, and it's a play about a mother and daughter and them coming together through their differences. And then on this section, you might tell us like why this show or this artwork is you taking a risk as an artist. So I'm actually collaborating on this show with my mom, and my mom has never performed before, but I think she's going to be really great at it. And this is the kind of process we're going about, and this is why it's important. I'm just making stuff up. Nobody's ever done a mother-daughter show before. And then this question is, why is this show right for fringe specifically as opposed to intersection? So maybe it deals with hard topics, so it would not be good for like an outdoor crowd that's just wandering up to the work. Or maybe it's because there's audience participation and the audience needs to be actively engaged with the show, and so a ticketed indoor venue is the right fit. This is, are you applying for short form or long form? Or short form or fringe form? So short form, again, can be 15 to 20 minutes. We'll pair 2 or 3 of those together to make a showcase. Or you can have your own show. If you choose short form, know that you'll be paired with another artist, and that the 75% of the ticket sales will then be split between the artists presenting that show. This is a question about schedules. The festival is April 25th through 27th. We really recommend that if you are thinking about being a part of the festival, try to keep that weekend open. Again, we're trying to let you know by mid-January if you got in. Once you find out you got in, you should still keep the weekend open, because if you are participating, one of the best things about Boom, I think, is the networking. We've had artists come back to us and say it feels like a family reunion, because there are some artists that come back year after year, and artists that performed last year will come to the festival to see what's new, what new is being produced this year. Artists that are interested to know more about the festival come and see what it looks like. And so there's this opportunity, this networking, this shared space, this opportunity for Charlotte artists to see other Charlotte artists work, or local artists, regional artists to see each other's work. And I think that's really valuable. So really putting aside the weekend to not only produce your own show, whether that's fringe or intersection, but then also see the work of fellow artists that are involved. And I think that sometimes leads to collaboration for next year. You see somebody's work, you're like, oh, we're thinking about something similar, and they're a musician and I'm a dancer, and maybe we can work together in the future. Or just like, knowing what else is happening locally. Because there's some really amazing original work being created right here in Charlotte. We know you guys are creating that, and there's some other really great artists creating that too. And we want to give everyone the opportunity to sort of participate in that beyond just showing up and doing their own show. This is a question about intersection. Would you like to be considered for intersection or site specific? You may have some, like, you're like, I absolutely need a microphone, or I need a dance floor. We'll do our best to accommodate those needs. But just know low tech, high impact is what we're going for. We're taking a non-artistic space for the fringe venues and sort of turning them into theaters for the weekend. So it's not going to be full lights and an amazing AV system. Like we're building it out for the weekend. So just sort of know that. And if you have ideas that, projection or things like that, know that you may be responsible for finding the tools to make that piece happen. Again, so like your own materials, like what can you bring? Some people have their own projection screen and projector. We want to know the demographics of you and your cast. We want to make sure that this show is diverse and that we end up with a lot of different kinds of people presenting. So that's why we asked this. We realize you may not have your whole cast selected yet, but just give us an idea. I usually work with a very diverse cast, or I usually work with an all-female cast, or I usually work with an all-Black male cast, like whatever, or this show calls for this specific kind of group of people. I don't know what happened with the formatting here, but we would like a sample of your work. So this could be, you include a link here, or in this next one, you can upload an image or text or video. I would say video is the easiest way for performing artists for us to gauge what your work looks like. And then if writing is not your jam, feel free to make a video answering these questions, just like holding your phone in front of you, talking into it. You can upload that here, or you can upload it to YouTube and then send us a link, whatever works best for you. Okay, so that's the Fringe application. We'll go over here to the intersection application. It's also on that same page, just here. Again, I recommend reading all of this all the way through. I think it's important to know this information. We've tried to include some of the answers to questions that people have had in the past, and also like the reasons people might not have gotten in. You have a little more time to submit this application. This one's not due until January 15th. Again, we are asking, this isn't too different either. We're asking for contact information. Oh, the social media website, this also comes in really handy if your work sample doesn't work, or if your work sample isn't give us enough information about who you are as an artist. Same questions, original work, project premiere. These things matter much less here than they do in the Fringe application. We have I included some other ways of sharing your work here. Site-specific workshops, something interactive, table to share your work, poetry, spoken word, like whatever. There's some extra genres here that are not included in the Fringe options. This is fun. You might pick stage, you might pick more than one of these things. That's fine. Again, title, it can be untitled for now if you don't know what the title is. Same thing, pitch, tell us more, tell us why this is important to you as an artist, or why this would be specifically important to the audience. Describe yourself as an artist. So make sure these things are really different. Who are you as an artist? What kind of work do you like to share? And then what is this show? And what is this? Yeah. Well, this show for Fringe. For intersection, there's a lot of different ways to define the work. It could be visual art, it could be an installation, it could be live creating of work. But tell us why tell us what you're bringing to Boom, and about that thing that you're bringing to the festival. And then this is about describing who you are as a creator. How long, length, anticipated location, can you bring your own equipment? Again, demographics, schedule, we already went through that. And here's the same thing, the work sample. And again, feel free to not answer those questions, but you can put short answers above and then include a video with a more detailed response if that feels like a better way for you to share about your work. So I'm sorry, this is so long, y'all, I apologize, but just a couple little tips on the application. I would say the work sample is hugely important. We want to know what kind of work you've done in the past to ensure that the work you've done in the past is, to sort of see what kind of work you might bring. If you don't have a big resume and you haven't done much in the past, then make sure that who you are as an artist and what you're bringing to Boom, that the answer to those questions are really strong. And I would explain in that, like, what did the panel need to know? Like, I'm new to this, and that's part of why this is fringy, because this is something I'm new to doing, or this is a different way of creating my work, and why we should give you a chance. One of the things that I think people sometimes get in the weeds about here is they get excited about telling us about describing their work in flowery details. And then sometimes I'm like, but is it a dance or is it a poem? So make sure you say something very clear, like, I will be performing a dance with 6 dancers about this thing, or I will be live painting, or what are you going to do? Some people leave out that piece and we're like, this sounds very interesting. I'm so glad to know it's about your family and why they matter so much to you, but I don't know what you're doing. Okay, so I hope that makes sense. If you have questions, I think a big thing is like, should I apply for Fringe? Should I apply for Intersection? That is a question I can answer. We're going to have a Q&A in just a moment here, or you can also email me at chaos, QUEOS, Charlotte @gmail.com, and I will put that in the chat as well. And I am going to stop recording. Thanks so much for coming to this info session. Feel free to contact me with questions.